Welcome into a December 2nd edition of Daily Faceoff Live, streaming live on the DFO YouTube, looking for your inbox questions as always. And as always, we are a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Carter Hutton, how you doing?
Doing good, buddy. I was up early. My wife, I don't know if you're into this, but the Elf on the Shelf, we decided we're doing that now. It wasn't really talked about, but we're doing it. So my kids woke up so early. I'm committed to it. I'm a good husband. I'm just falling in line, my man.
That's a tough one. I feel like in the first week, and again, I don't have kids, so I don't need to do this. First week, all fun and games. I'll check back in on this situation on like December 15th and see how you're doing with the whole thing.
We've never done it before, too. It was good. They were honestly so excited today. It was like solo cups all over our living room, and they were hidden under a couple. And there's enough ideas online. She's got it all planned out, but it's like Christmas morning every morning. They were up at 6 a.m. just like shaking me. Can we go see the elves? So I'm like, guys, I got to work today, okay? Dad's got a big career.
I like that. So you're not the planner. You're like the executor. Like you just got to go pull this thing off. Follow a
That's
blueprint.
it. Yeah, I'm not the planner. Trust me, I am not the brains. You've worked with me long enough now. You know I'm not the brains of this, okay? I just show up to work here and get it done.
We're going to be joined by Carlo Colaiacovo today, the former Leafs defenseman, now works for TSN Radio in the show First Up. He's going to join us in our big segment today. But first, let's talk about a couple of teams, Huts, that are kind of just sputtering along and quite frankly, struggling. They're the title of the show. It's the Utah Mammoth, who get drubbed 6-3 by the San Jose Sharks yesterday. And for Utah, only 2 wins in their last 10 games. We talked yesterday about how, man, the Hawks are making things really interesting and they're lingering around the playoff picture. And so are the Kraken. And hey, so are the Sharks. And the Central's so good. For Utah to be falling behind the way that they are right now, it's pretty concerning.
It is concerning, right? And you look at this team and you look at the lack of production that they're getting from certain players. You know, they've been through a lot, but in there, that's 4 straight losses for them in their last 10. They're 2-5-3 from a team that we thought was taking that step forward. So it is concerning. And I just wonder how patient they will be as an ownership group, as a team where, you know, Armstrong has had a pretty good runway of time to develop these players and be in a good situation now in Utah with a different ownership group than obviously what he handled with and dealt with in Arizona. I had a chance to be there. It was an interesting situation there where this Ryan Smith, he is on board to try to win, to try to get this team where they need to go. So I wonder how long he sits pat here. But, you know, we were talking about it earlier, Nick Schmaltz, right? This is a guy that was producing goals, getting the job done now for them. You look at him, he's still up there and scoring on their team, but it's been 10 games for Nick Schmaltz without a goal, which has just been really rough to see for a team that needs to find a chance to score goals and find a way when their goaltending hasn't really been getting it done, Ty.
Yeah, both Vanacek and Vejmelka under 900 this season. And actually, this is something I was looking into before the show. League average save percentage this year in the NHL is .897. And you can see on your screen, Vanacek's down at an .869, Karel Vejmelka at an .885. I found it really interesting because I was curious, how many teams in the league are in a similar situation where neither one of their goalies are giving them league average results? There's actually a bunch: Detroit, Edmonton, Montreal, Nashville, Ottawa, St. Louis, Vegas, and Utah. A quarter of the league is sitting here right now with neither one of their goalies giving them league average or better save percentages. So I think goaltending's a big problem, and then it's combined with the offense drying up. But what do you make of that stat I just rattled off, Huts? A quarter of the league is not getting league average goaltending from either one of their guys.
Crazy, really crazy. And again, I don't blame the goalies in a sense because the NHL is just run and gun now, right? The offense is so high, the scoring chances these guys are seeing. But that being said, if there's guys that can carry, there's a big list of guys from 918 to 915 in that window. They're able to find a way to get it done, whether it's defensive structure or there's teams that do give up high quality chances. On the other side, I think it's almost reassuring when you look at them and be like, we can be so much better. Imagine we started to get 905 goaltending, 907, and you start to push into a better. I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel for these teams, but it's getting through a little bit of this stretch run right here. Because I feel like from December till we start the Olympics is almost like this little mini season, because you're going to have a big stretch off where you come back from the Olympic break, whether you send players or you don't. It's almost a big reset for a lot of guys. Then it's the downhill push to the playoffs. So I think there's a little bit of a panic when you talk about these teams that are on that cusp line of getting in, and the Utah Mammoth are one of them. They need to get some good goaltending. They need to get it now.
Yeah, and again, if you don't figure it out, like they're sitting at a 500 points percentage right now. If you come back from that Olympic break and you have, let's look at the Utah situation, you'd have to jump Edmonton, Winnipeg, and San Jose just to get into the final wild card spot. I mean, we know how the loser point can keep teams afloat. Like, it'd be really, really hard to sit there and be like, oh, not only do we need to play 650 hockey down the stretch, we need four other teams to play significantly worse than us for us to get in. Like, I just think it can get early pretty late here for Utah, who's played more games than anybody else in the Western Conference. So the games in hand thing aren't helping them either. But a little bit of concern in Utah as far as, and I'm sure some people will be like, fire the coach. I don't think we're there yet with Andre Tournier. He took over in 2024. So this is a guy who is only in his second full season with that organization, or third full season, whatever it is. Like, I don't think they're going to be calling for his head anytime soon out in Utah. Quickly on San Jose, Huts, because they pull off a win last night. All those teams I just rattled off, Utah, Edmonton, Winnipeg, San Jose is above them. They're in a playoff spot. Is it time we start giving the Sharks the same sort of respect and love that we give, the Chicago Blackhawks? Did a full segment on them yesterday.
Yeah, I think so. I think they are at the point now with their young talent where they're at. It's actually funny too. I don't know if you saw that the other day. They got fined $40K for nobody wearing helmets during warmups, which just has Ryan Reeves written all over it. A guy I played with who probably convinced all the boys to go out there for a hair skate. Again, the optics of the NHL, I can't believe they fined them. It's such a, like, we baby every little situation of these young guys in the league, but it's such a fun opportunity for guys to be out there and involved. And this is a team that, I think for a little while here, they got the free pass, right? Like, even when they were struggling horrible, nobody really was hard on them, where certain teams, when they struggle, they get it. But they're moving in the right direction. They have some young, talented player. Askarov is unbelievable, arguably one of the best goalies under 25. There's a list of 4 of them that are shooting the lights out this year. Things are looking up, and I think we know what I really like there too is the Tyler Toffoli. He played really well last night. He's been kind of that mentor leadership in this group, and the young talent's through the roof. So I believe this is a team we have to start talking about, Ty, whether we like it or not. I don't know if they're there. I don't think this is really sustainable. I don't think they squeak in kind of like the Habs did last year, but they got a lot of things moving in the right direction.
Yeah, a couple more developed pieces in Chicago than San Jose, which is why I think I believe in them a bit more. To close this one off, I misspoke on Tournier. It's his second year with Utah. It's obviously his 5th season as the head coach. He was with Phoenix for the 3 years, and then they flip over. So I just don't think Ryan Smith is going to be the guy who, after only having Tournier behind his bench for 2 years, is going to pull trigger and change there. But let's go out east, Huts. Another team kind of been underperforming, but it hasn't been one that's generated a lot of conversation. It's the Florida Panthers. They're sitting at a 521 points percentage this season. They are 6 points out of a wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. They're closer to being down with the Torontos and Buffaloes than they are to being in the mix and holding on to a playoff spot. And a lot of people are going to go, they got to get healthy. Once they get healthy, they'll be fine. They're getting Matt Tkachuk back at some point. They're not getting Alexander Barkov back during the regular season this year. And similar to Utah, if you're just sitting there as Florida and kind of just waiting, once we get Tkachuk back, we'll turn on the Jets and go. What's going to happen when you need to leapfrog 7 or 8 teams to get into a playoff spot once Matt Tkachuk comes back?
Yeah, it's a lot to take in when we talk about that. But that being said, there's teams that get a leash and there's teams that don't get a leash. And this is a team that gets a leash from me in the sense of they've been to 3 Cup finals. They're back-to-back Cup champions, right? So there is that winning pedigree that, I guess maybe suppresses my worry a little bit. But when we talk about, Toronto struggles or Buffalo struggles or Utah, they don't get a pass because they haven't done anything, right? So this is a team where you would think as things start to come together and they start to get back into it, it will help. But it is concerning when you look at the lack of scoring up front too. Like Brad Marchand is leading your team. He's had a great year. He's got 15 goals, 12 assists, 27 points. And Sam Reinhart has continued to score, and that's without Barkov. He's got 13 goals. But then after that, it dries up a little bit. And that's where it starts to get concerning when you look at the depth, because I don't see Reinhart dropping off. He's just a guy that can find the back of the net. But can Brad Marchand keep clipping along at this pace at his age? I just don't know if that's sustainable. So that's when I start to get worried. Bobrovsky, I don't know. He's proven me wrong so many times. He hasn't been great. I think maybe we start to see a little bit more of Tarasov because he has played well. What's he at now? He's at a 907 in 8 games played. So maybe you start to sprinkle in a little bit more of him. Yes, he doesn't have the wins-loss record, but when you're not getting scoring, you're not going to win games as a goalie. That's something you just can't control, Ty.
Yeah, And I'll ask you for your kind of like 1 to 10 rating. And I guess there's two ways that I kind of view this Florida thing, because like they're not getting results right now, but they're defending well. A lot of the expected numbers, I looked at a few of the analytics, like they're actually playing okay. Bobrovsky has really struggled. He's 34th in goals saved above expected amongst goalies who have played 10 or more games. And there's only like 43 of those goalies. So he's in like the bottom quarter in terms of starting goalies this year in the NHL. So like he's struggled. So if you ask me in a vacuum, like 1 through 10, how concerned are you about the Florida Panthers and their chances of getting into the playoffs this year? My number would actually probably be pretty high. I'm probably at like a 7. But at the end of the day, and I see the comments in the chat here, like Devil Kid says, when you win back-to-back cups, you get away with being bad for a season. Like, the reason we're not talking about Florida the same way we sit and talk about Edmonton or Toronto or whoever is because if Florida misses the playoffs this year, they kick their feet up, look and go, oh yeah, 2 Stanley Cup rings. We're all good. We can have a long summer here for once. And not to say they aren't competitive or whatever, but if Edmonton or Toronto miss, it's like, holy shit, burn everything down and start from scratch. So I think my answer is, in a vacuum this year, a 7 out of 10. I do think there's a legit chance the Florida Panthers miss the playoffs. They've played a ton of hockey. Bobrovsky's not getting any younger, and he's struggled. But overall, no one's going to panic if they miss the playoffs this year. No one's going to freak out.
No, but again, they're at that point too where they're going to be sending a lot of guys to the Olympics. So again, there is that pressure to try to get this moving in the right direction. And what I do think is going to be important here, this little start of December, you look at Toronto, Nashville, Columbus, New York, all home games. They've dropped 2 at home already to the Flyers and that dreaded Calgary loss that killed my parlay. But I think this is a chance for them to really make a statement here in this early December months here, buddy.
All right, let's do a little fill in the blank, and then we'll get to our big segment for the day. Yesterday, we touched on this a little bit in our big segment with Brock Sagan. He talked about just the absolute heater that Jason Robertson's been on, second in the NHL in goals so far in this calendar year, so since January 1st. And this is a Dallas front office that obviously paid big money to keep Mikko Rantanen around, gave him the $12 million AAV. And now Jason Robertson, I know he's an RFA for 1 more year, but after next season, he's a UFA. You really don't have the option to just go cheap bridge route here. So you're filling the blank cuts. Jason Robertson's next AAV will be blank.
Oh, I got to think it's right around Mikko Rantanen's number, right? Like this is a guy that you have to pay. And again, like when you look at their cap space and where they're at, they can get it done. It's more going to be about their production long-term and what they see him being. Because my worry is, if you don't get him under that 8-year cap right now while you can, he takes maybe that small, 2 or 3 year window, and then God knows what you're going to have to pay him because the cap is going up, the way things are moving. And again, when we look to free agency at this point, look at the guys that have dropped off the board. There's no real contenders left. Everybody's going, now you're going to overpay for a guy that can produce like he can, that's older, that doesn't have the same upside. So I think it's just more where they fit. And I look at Tyler Seguin next year, he's at just over 9 million, and then his deal's done. So, he kind of slides into that slot where he makes up that money, he makes up that goal scoring. He's there. Jamie Benn is aging out. And Jim Nill, he's worked a masterclass for years here. This is a team that is consistently in it. They haven't really got over the hump, but he honestly just keeps churning out good players and making this thing roll. So I think they find a healthy number for him. And again, if you get an 8-year deal at that kind of number and you get to stay in Dallas, my God, that is a really, really good place to live and spend out the rest of your career.
Yeah, tax-free dollars as well, which obviously helped them a bit with the Mikko Rantanen thing. But yeah, if I'm Dallas, I'm not getting cute with any 2-3 year deal here. If the cap shoots up to 107 this summer, which we all kind of expect it will, they have $20 million. And again, basically their entire core is locked up. If Jason Robertson says, I want the Mikko Rantanen deal, give it to him. Don't think twice. And you have Tyler Seguin coming off the books in 2 years. You're going to have wiggle room down the line. Take care of this guy. He's rare. And if he gets to the open market, I don't know, some Chicago who's got a boatload of money, they would love to add a piece like Jason Robertson in the summer. They'd probably give him Kirill Kaprizov money if he got to UFA status in a couple of years. So yeah, I would just pay him. One more for you. And Pat, you can roll the video here. Jordan Binnington gets yanked yesterday, and in true Jordan Binnington fashion, he's got some words for his head coach. Fill in the blank. Binnington giving Montgomery a mouthful was blank.
Oh, wild. You watch the goals against, you watch he's played. It's, you don't really have much of a leg to stand on if you're not stopping the puck, right? At the end of the day, I don't care how bad the defensemen are or what's going on. You are the last line of defense. And again, it's on the anniversary of Patrick Waugh doing this the day before. Today was the anniversary of Patrick Waugh doing this for the Montreal Canadiens. So I thought it was fitting that we added this video. So we'll see what happens. Maybe this is the beginning of the end for Jordan Binnington. I know he's been a little bit heated with the way things have gone there, and there's obviously his name buzzing around the trade market, but the way he is playing right now, it's concerning for Canada in the Olympics and for the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, the Canada in the Olympics conversation is one you need to throw into. Again, I'm very happy that the story broke like a month ago that Hockey Canada reached out to Logan Thompson and kind of wanted to mend the relationship there, because I don't think you want to go into a best-on-best tournament with Jordan Binnington as your only goalie. You need Logan Thompson and probably Mackenzie Blackwood would be my best guess to be there and pushing him a little bit. Continue along with the show. We're running a little bit behind, as we always are. But let's get to our big segment for the day. It's brought to you by Uber Eats. Uber Eats is helping maximize every fan's game day experience all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. Whether it's before, during, or after the big game, Uber Eats is assisting every hockey fan all season. Pleasure to be joined by former NHL defenseman Carlo Colaiacovo, now running First Up with TSN Radio in Toronto. And let me just start. You got the Bills helmet, you got the Bills hat. You're speaking my language. I love to see that. Thanks for popping on.
Thanks, boys. Good to be with you. I don't know if we're speaking the same language about the Bills this year, but it doesn't hide the fact that I'm a fan of them, and I just hope I'm not setting myself up for another disappointing season.
Knowing what I know about being a Bills fan, yeah, we probably are setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Guaranteed.
But anyways,
guaranteed. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. We just did our fill in the blank segment, so let me throw one of those your way. If you had to pick one word to describe the first 30% of the Toronto Maple Leaf season, it would be blank.
Dysfunctional. You look at the way this quarter of the season has gone. Goaltending's been a mess. It's been better as of late. Defense has been a mess. Injuries have been a problem for this team. And consistency has been a big problem for this team. So you add all those things together, it's a dysfunctional team right now.
Carlo, this is a team that, expectations are so high, right? It's been that transition, obviously, Marner going out, the core four, where we're at. John Tavares is still buzzing along, but Austin Matthews, he hasn't really looked like himself in a long time, right? I know he's, redefined himself, I guess, defensively and where he's at. What is your concern level about his play and the injury coming back from? He just doesn't look like the same guy we're used to seeing.
Well, my concern about him is not being the player that everybody expects him to be. They made the transition last year, giving him the captaincy, removing it from Tavares, and this was supposed to be his team leading the way. And production-wise, it's been a struggle for him to do that. I know he's been battling through injuries, but, if he doesn't want to make a big deal of what he's dealing with by not revealing what it is he's dealing with, why should everybody else make a big deal about what he's dealing with and just expect that if he's going to put the equipment on, he's got to perform at the level that people expect him to perform at? And, we had a little get-together before the season started with some of the media members and some of the Maple Leafs brass, and Craig Berube spoke, and he cracked a joke saying how in his first year as head coach, he got Austin Matthews to score 30 goals, the least amount of goals in his career. And I know he was joking about it, but, really, when you're playing a system that Craig Berube demands, which is a north-south system, a four-line team, a team that wants to play heavy and wear the other teams down and focus on structure. It's not your Sheldon Keefe, north-south, wheeling and dealing, track meet type of games. And when your power play is not operating in the top 5 in the league, how are you going to produce offense? So you lose Marner. That's a big piece that he's used to getting a lot of points with. But if Austin Matthews is supposed to be the captain of this team and one of the top 5 to 10 players in this league, he's got to find it within himself to lead on his own. And it's been a struggle. And look, when your team loses, it's a struggle for everybody. But William Nylander's finding a way. Austin Matthews needs to find a way. And if this team's going to come out of the spot that they're in, and I know it's early, and I'm not one of those guys that hits the panic button this early in the season, but if the Leafs are going to bounce their way back, Austin Matthews good back or not, has to put the team on his back and lead them.
Yeah, I mean, highest paid player, star player, like a lot of the attention's going to go to him. I find it interesting looking at the way, this team's keeping pucks out of their net. Because I do think it's easy to go like, oh man, they don't have Mitch Marner. But like Nylander, who you mentioned, Tavares, Matthew Nyes, they're all top 10 in the league in even strength points. This team has the third most 5-on-5 goals scored in the NHL. They have the second most 5-on-5 goals against in the NHL. If you had to assign like a big old blame pie to goaltending and defense, what percent do you give to either side of that?
Well, I'm going to go goaltending first, and Card, you can jump in on here because you're the expert. But you look at the Leafs and the way they played last year. The goaltending that they got to start the season, and even the goaltending that they maintained, hit a lot of their deficiencies. Right? I mean, you lose Marner, and everybody's got to give an opinion about how they feel the Maple Leafs are going to do this year. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you lose Marner, team lose good players every year, but what are you banking on for success? Well, you still got all your defense coming back, and you still got both of your goaltenders. And you thought that would be the strength leading this team. Then they lead the league in 5-on-5 scoring, and they still can't win hockey games. Why? Because they can't defend, can't keep the puck out of their net. When they're not getting above 900 save percentage, your defense gets exposed too. So I think both share a little bit of the blame, but Anthony Stolarz hasn't been anywhere close to the way he was last year. I think Joseph Woll's been really, really good since coming back from injury, but they missed him for almost 6 weeks. So when you don't have that type of goaltending, you can't keep the puck out of your net. You got to bank on winning high scoring games all the time, and that doesn't always end up in your favor. So you see teams win with missing players all the time. Look what Ottawa did. They're missing Brady Tkachuk. Look what Tampa's doing right now. Have you seen their defense? Like winning without Hedman, winning without Braden Point. Like they're not making excuses. And I get Toronto gets a bigger spotlight because they're Toronto and there's a lot of people that cover them and there's a little bit of pressure to play here and obviously with expectations. But, hockey's a game where it's more of a team game than individuals. You have individuals to take you over the top, but at playing a team game, you can still win hockey games. And maybe the game against Pittsburgh and maybe their recent stretch of winning 2 of their last 3 is, the turning point for this team. But I guess we'll find out tonight where they get the real test of, the Florida Panthers, who are on the same boat as the Maple Leafs right now.
Yeah, and Carlo, I couldn't agree with you more too. When I think about this team, right, I guess maybe a standpoint for me is obviously Joseph Woll being out to start the year doesn't help, right? He's gone from the team. And I've been through that situation. When you have 2 NHL guys, there's that safety net, right? Now all of a sudden Stolarz has to carry the mail. It doesn't go well. He calls him out in the media. And is this part of the Craig Berube switch over, trying to make more guys more accountable? And then that mix of this is a new generation of player where when we played, right? You played for Hitch, you played for guys where there was no hiding, right? They were telling you what they thought, where nowadays you need to coach each player individually and guys check out. They know they're going to get their money. Do you think this is a bit of that rub with Craig Berube? I played for Chief. He's a great guy, but this is a different generation of player.
I love Chief. I had him for 1 year and I wish I would have had him for more. I appreciate the way he coaches, his communication with the players. And like you talked about, Cards, just his individual conversations with the players is, I think, what his strength is, right? I mean, he's not a big X's and O's guys, but he preaches structure. He preaches accountability. He preaches a certain toughness. Yeah, that's a tough thing to demand for the new age NHL player that's coming up as a young guy. When they go through juniors, they get to play a little bit more freewheeling. But that bothers me as a former player. I would imagine it bothers you too, because there is that sort of that mentality that we adopted where we always had the carrot dangling in front of us, and if you didn't get it, and if you didn't continue to push for it, you would lose your job. And I think in today's age where there's, these monster contracts that are being handed out, 7, 8 year deals. I mean, if a player doesn't want to decide to show up one night, I mean, what's the punishment for him, and what's the fear for them not playing well? And I think for Craig Berube, he's doing what he can. And right now he's dangling ice time. He's dangling, roster spots. And I think that's the way you get guys' attention. I actually appreciate that. And I think players on a team recognize who's playing well and who's not playing well in a game throughout a stretch in a season. And, maybe that's the way you try to get your message. But if you try to send a message in that way and it rubs one of your star players the wrong way, now the coach looks like the bad guy, it's a fine line. You got to tippy toe around. But, I would think that with the leadership that the Maple Leafs trust and have obviously created with their group, there's an understanding there that, hey, playing in this market, playing on this team comes with expectations. And if you don't meet them, your job's going to be on the line. But, the thing that's being tested right now is the depth that, this organization preached that they focused on in the offseason of giving them more options. It's being tested right now, right? I mean, there's not really guys that are knocking on the door in the minors saying, hey, I want an NHL job, give me a spot. So, you hope that with who you have, the message been sent. I mean, the Leafs have led the league in scratch and scores, guys that get scratched and next day they come in and score. So it's clearly a recipe that has worked, and let's hope it's a recipe that can continue to work to get them out of this slump that they're in.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a similar spot to the team that I'm obviously close to here out in Edmonton, where like every time the Oilers win, you're kind of like, okay, are they back? Is this like the momentum turner? Because we've seen it before with the Leafs where they're capable of just ripping off 7-8 in a row. And if they could do that, and I know it's easier to just say, well, if they could just win 8 in a row, all their problems are solved. But like, we know they're capable of like getting hot like that. We know that that Austin Matthews can score 20 goals in a 15-game stretch, and all of a sudden the concerns kind of go away, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think this year in particular, I don't think we've ever seen a year like this where 25 games in the season, there's one or two teams that are completely out of it, and those are all in the Western Conference. Yeah. In the Eastern Conference, everybody's pretty much in it. All it takes is one long losing streak and you're in it, one long winning streak and you're in it, and one long losing streak and you're out of it. So I think that's what you've got to try to avoid if you're in the Eastern Conference. I think in the past you would look at the schedule and say, okay, we don't need to bring our A game. We could win with our B game and C game against that certain opponent. I don't think there's any more of those games that exist in the NHL in today's game, especially with the Eastern Conference teams, where, as good or as bad as things are for you, you just got to find a way to get points and find a way to just bounce back, right? You can't extend losing streaks. And if you get on a winning streak, try to carry it as much as you can. I mean, look what a 7-game winning streak's done for the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? It's created separation for them, where at the beginning of the season, I think they had a 5-game losing streak. And everyone's like, oh, man, what's going on in Tampa? Well, they figured it out. And I would imagine a team with the players that the Leafs have, and even as good as Florida is, they're going to figure it out. But they're not getting those gimme games anymore. It's becoming more difficult because everybody else is better.
Yeah, that's a good point with the gimme games. Carlo, appreciate your time. Thanks for popping on. Maybe we'll have you back in February. We'll do a Super Bowl preview.
Oh, jeez.
I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say dumb shit.
Oh, man, I hope it's the year, but I don't have a good feeling about the Billies this year. But again, it's same in the NFL. Like, it's wide open, right? Just got to get in.
Yeah.
So,
it is.
Anyways,
all right, thanks,
pleasure
Carlo.
being on with you guys. Happy to be on again. Have a Merry Christmas and a great New Year, boys.
Thanks, Carlo. I appreciate it.
All right, Huts, let's get to our daily face-off inbox question, #askDFO. Someone in the chat, I lost it. They were like, you boys couldn't handle, I think it was our Tage Thompson Sabres fan. It was like, you boys couldn't handle a Buffalo Bills tailgate. Buddy, I've handled them before. You don't think I can hold my own in a Bills tailgate? Come on.
Buddy, I've been to a tailgate before. I lived in Buffalo for 3 years. My daughter wants to vacation in Buffalo, buddy. I got Buffalo in my blood. It's honestly, I love Josh Allen. I had a chance to meet him. It was when he first came in. He ended up coming to a game, and in the dressing room, they're like, yeah, there's like a QB for this. Is before he was like a big name, and I got to meet him, and I'd see him all the time. It was awesome. Really cool to get that chance. And then they did a video. It's actually a funny one for people to look up. I don't know if it's online, but it's called the Trey White Goalie Academy. We did this video because Trey White said his favorite player was Hutton. He didn't know my name. And then we did this goalie video with Marty Braun. It was a pretty good spoof the Buffalo Sabres put on.
Pat, your homework is to find that video for us for tomorrow's show. But on that note, let's get to our daily bets for the day, brought to you by Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You couldn't put me down for a win last night, but I got a push. You cannot take a unit off my score. We finished with exactly 6 goals in the game between the Winnipeg Jets and the Buffalo Sabres. So throw me down for a push. Pat, are you alive? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Camera just wasn't working for whatever reason. Yeah, I bet on the kids again last night. I'm actually a little bit upset, though, because I wanted to parlay Anaheim with San Jose, and they did end up getting the win. So that could have been a plus 400 for me, but I'll take the win at this point.
Didn't I say Buffalo puck line? I don't remember what I said yesterday. Oh my goodness, these Jets too. I had somebody come at me a while ago about Eric Comrie being the guy for Team Canada as the number 3 goalie. And now I just want to say, if he's listening or he's out here, he can come look this video up and be like, I told you Eric Comrie wasn't the guy, and we're seeing it firsthand. It's different playing once a week, once every 10 days, trying to carry the mail. These Jets are struggling. They need to pick it up.
Yeah, really, really struggling. Again, to build off the point Carlo said, like, you don't have time to be like middling and average with the league as tight as it is. But let's get to our picks for tonight. I almost nailed that over last night. I'm going right back to the well, though. Give me Montreal and Ottawa. You heard me earlier in the show talk about how 1/4 of the league has both their goalies performing below league average. Montreal and Ottawa are both teams like this. The number's set at 6, not 6.5. So like yesterday, I have some built-in insurance if I were to need a push here in this one. So give me the over 6 between Montreal and Ottawa. Pat, what do you got?
I'm rolling with the hot hands right now. I've got Alex Ovechkin 1+ point and Tom Wilson 1+ point tonight against LA, plus 145. Both these guys, 8 points in their last 10 games. Their power plays doing all right, but when Ovechkin's hot and he's passing the puck instead of shooting, he's scoring and he's getting points. So I like that one all over the board. What about you, Huts?
All right, I'm taking the Lightning tonight, and then I'm taking the Flames in the toilet bowl as they visit Nashville, and then I'm taking the Avs. Just the Avs money line's insane. That pushes me up to 346. I need it, boys. Let's get this thing turned back around. I was getting hot. I almost broke into the pluses, but Pat's got the lead now. We got to catch him.
This is just the worst segment ever. We all stink. Let's wrap up the show with a little bit of garbage time and some stick taps for Brendan Dillon, who became the 138th defenseman in NHL history to play 1,000 games in the league. And a reporter showed him a picture of himself as a youngster on skates and asked him what it would mean to tell that kid he'd play 1,000 games in the NHL. And this response from Dillon was great.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, just
want to play one game. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, just.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's happy. I'm just happy, excited. So thankful to playing the best league in the world, and from every coach I've had to player to teammate, it's been awesome.
That's something, hey, Huts?
It is. Honestly, the hockey player in me kind of takes over. I feel his emotion, and, you miss the game and what it takes to do it. And this is a guy that, he doesn't play on the perimeter. He wears it on his sleeve, and the way he plays a hard 1,000 games. So it's pretty impressive, and hats off to Brendan Dillon and hopefully a bunch more. He left last night's game, so hopefully he's back soon.
Yeah, he got into a big altercation with Dmitry Voronkov in Columbus, and the Devils were real fired up about it. But we've talked about this with a few guys, but getting to 1,000 games and doing it the hard way. You're not a superstar who maybe had a great 10 years and then is able to ride it out for a couple more years off your reputation. This is a guy in Brendan Dillon who had to earn it. And I just looked this up. Of those 138 defensemen who've played 1,000 games in the NHL, there are only 23 of them who've done it while putting up under 250 career points, which is not a slight. Again, that is a compliment to a guy who did it the difficult way.
Well, yeah, it just shows you the way he had to play the game, right? There wasn't off nights where you could just be a perimeter guy and get power play points and stay in the league. He's doing it hard minutes, pucks playing against the top guys in the D zone, blocking shots, doing it the tough way. So it's impressive to him. And again, as a goalie, a defenseman like Brendan Dillon is your best friend. So hats off to him. And man, that video makes me miss the game and love it and see how much these guys sacrifice to play it.
Yeah, it was great. All right, that is a wrap on today's show. Big shout out to Carlo Colaiacovo for swinging by and giving us a few minutes of his time. Tomorrow, we're going to have a little double dipper. We got Jeff Merrick and World Junior hopeful Carter George joining the show, so should be a good one tomorrow on the program. But have a good Tuesday. Enjoy the games tonight, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow at noon Eastern. Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.